Well, when Democrats aren't super spreading socialism, seems like they are super spreading the Delta variant. Texas State Representative Briscoe Cain, who has the coolest name that has ever been given to an elected official, is here to give us an update on the mini pandemic caused by those very heroic civil rights fighters from Texas. Good to see you, sir. Thanks so much for your time. I've got to get your take on this. They ran away and then they infected everybody else in D.C.
They're so brave. You know, I'm seeing a lot of them act like this is some stand and they're posting Gadsden flags saying, come and take it. And you're like, that's the literal opposite. You ran from a fight.
You ran and gave it. I mean, that's the opposite of come and take it.
Cowardice. And now we see the hypocrisy of, the mainstream media, because if they would be accusing Republicans of trying to murder the president or the vice president, instead they're trying to make it about some privacy. Look, yeah, they took a case of Miller Lite up there, and now they're going to come back with, I guess, six corona cases. But it's hypocritical. It's silly.
Yeah, it is. I have to get your reaction, too, to this. This was a tweet from Donna Howard. She said she was caught by Cassie Dillon. She said, we need to follow the science here. Texas needs to change course, allow for universal mask wearing. Same person pictured on the flight with no mask. She was calling for universal mask wearing. This was today. This was this morning at 8:45 a.m. Of course, several days after, she was on that plane with no mask, and they're all spreading coronavirus. Any thoughts on that?
I saw Cassie's tweet, and I retweeted it. Actually, I saw you earlier had done the same. Here's a funny one. It's a private charter. Guess what? Federal law mandates you wear a freaking mask on a private charter. I didn't know that. I don't wear masks anyways. But hey, these people do. You and I have never supported mask wearing, but they're dogmatic about it, and they're showing their hypocrisy. Of course, look, this had nothing to do with election bills and other things. They're just up there, fundraising, having their hair smelled by Creepy Joe, and whatever. A lot of them are wanting to run for Congress. Just all a political stunt at the loss for Texans. I mean, we've got election to do, but they're more than that. Bills dealing with lowering
loss. Yeah. Yes, and that's a really good point, because lowering property taxes, there's a bunch of things that, we're all waiting for. But I wanted to ask you, too, because one of the other things that's up is salaries for legislative staffers are going to be running out, because and I would imagine that affects your staff as well.
Yes, all staff of the legislature and agencies that are legislative agencies, those folks will be furloughed. We'll figure out what I have to do. I mean, I think a lot of the Democrats knew that, and they took the card. Now, whether the governor should have vetoed it, it's another question. But look, they're up there playing these games at the expense of everybody.
Yeah, and a quick question too on you mentioned this isn't really about elections for them, which it's not. They keep saying photo ID, they keep saying voter ID, et cetera. Texas makes it so easy. I mean, we've all read the law. There's nothing Jim Crow about it. Just these are the same accusations that were thrown towards Georgia. But here's the thing. Why aren't they for just abolishing ID? If ID is racist for voting, then why is it not racist for renting a car, getting a driver's license, getting the vaccination, or just pretty much going anywhere, buying liquor, tobacco, getting on a plane, or going to one of the events that they were promoting, which required photo ID to even get in the first place? So why aren't they calling for abolishment of ID?
Yeah, Dana, you're asking a lot. You're asking for intellectual consistency. That's a hard one to get from the left. I don't think you're going to get it. Look, several of these members, in fact, one of them recently shown almost crying on TV, demanding let me vote, told me on the floor, as the chairman of the elections committee, tells me, look, honey, we know there's not suppression in this, but we have to walk out. And that was during the regular session before they broke quorum. 3 of the 4 I've seen are the most, in front of the TV, have said they know it isn't suppression. They know we're not all racist, but they've got to do this for their national party. It's really hurt some relationships here in the House. It's tough to take, right? We can discuss policy, but name calling like that, such a disgusting word of racism and being a suppressor, they've gone too far.
Last question for you. You're talking to Texas State Representative Briscoe Cain, which I know I've said it already, but you do have literally the coolest name of anybody in Texas. How do you think voters are going to repay this? How are they going to remember this?
That's a great question. I actually think they're going to remember. Look, last time they did this kind of stunt in 2003, we flipped some seats. I think the longer they're gone, the better we're off. Their voters are upset, and I've heard through the rumor mill that some of them realize that, and they're very concerned about their seats. people, at a very minimum, want you to show up to work. And they've done exactly not that. They're not showing up to work to do the job they were elected to do. They weren't elected to go to D.C. and party it up with Chuck Schumer.
Right, and eat fruit into the shape of smiley faces like Gene Wu. I mean, it's only in America.